Hello, my name is Aaron Snow, and in this video I'd like to talk about mercy, about faith, and about works, and the things that we do. Um, this actually is a very common type of a subject, but I think it's one of the least understood, and so that's why I'm talking about it. And I think it's a very important in general to understand it. It's not necessary, but it's generally useful to know this. Now, the one who talked about it the most in the scriptures is Paul, and mainly he was talking to the children of Israel, to the Jews, when he was talking about this subject, because the Jews understood the scriptures, and they had a unique set of problems. They had the law, they had the truth, everything was given to them already, and so it was. Um, Paul had to talk with them just a little bit differently than he would with a bunch of Gentiles who really didn't have a lot of things that they did that they understood when it comes to what God wanted them to do. And so he wrote extensively about the law and what it meant in regards to faith and the works that they did. Now, to really understand this, there's a few basic concepts I'm going to have to just start in. Number one is that you got to understand the nature of people, the nature of human beings, is to be covetous, to desire after things. So, that's what we do. We get up in the morning for a reason. We get out of bed for a reason. We have desires that we seek out, and we try to get things for ourselves, or we try to get things to bolster our family, immediate family, or something like that. And the scriptures actually says, in James 4 and 5, it says that the spirit that dwelleth in us, the King James Version, the spirit that dwelleth in us lusteth to envy. And that's just the general nature of man. When I mean man, I mean mankind, woman and child, and doesn't matter if you're a human. You have a desire that you want things for yourself, and you desire to get things for yourself, and that's just how it is. And there's a problem in that, because you see, when you want things for yourself, oftentimes you end up trying to take it from somebody else, or you try to run over somebody else for that thing. And this is very common. This is the way the world works. That's where the beginning of sin is. The scripture also says that the love of money is the root of all evil. And we know it's not money itself that's evil. It's that we're wanting the money. We want that thing. We want those whatever. We have this desire for things for ourselves, and we end up running over people to get it and hurting others. Or we say, well, we're mistreated or something like that. And in reality, we didn't get what we were wanting, and we got angry. And so that's the beginning of the human condition. And the idea of the law was to sort of tell us what right and wrong was, what's acceptable and unacceptable behavior. Now, there is a natural law. Now, this natural law is actually spoken about in, in Romans, the second chapter, starting with Romans 2 and 14. It says, the Gentiles do not have the law. That means, even though you don't have the law is not there. The Gentiles did not have the law. But whenever they do by instinct what the law commands, they are their own law, even though they do not have the law. Their conduct shows that what the law command is written in their hearts. Their conscience also showing that it is true, since their thoughts sometimes accuse them and sometimes defend them. And it speaks, what it's saying here is that there is this natural law. That most people, they know what right and wrong is, even without somebody having to tell them. Because, it's really easy to understand this, because, it's like I, as a selfish person, I don't want people to steal from me. Okay, I might go and steal from others, but I don't want people to steal from me. And I don't want people to lie to me. I may end up lying to others, but I don't want people lying to me, you know. And if I'm in trouble, I want people to help me, but I won't help others. You know, it's the natural man. And everybody has this sense of justice, saying that, ooh, somebody did me wrong. I need to show some justice. I need to correct them. I need to put them in their place. They did evil to me. And at some point, the connection is made in your head that if I don't want people to hurt me, I better treat them right. And this is a natural thing. This is common sense, right? And what the law did, it came and it said, hey man, why learn the hard way? Here's the rules of the game. Here's the law. Don't steal from anybody. And don't lie to each other. And don't murder each other. Thou shalt not this and thou shalt not that. And that's the purpose of the law. Hence why the commandment is written, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. So whatever you would want them to do you also to them. For this is the law and the prophets, as it says in Matthew 7 and 12. So we know that the law is love, and that the whole law is fulfilled in thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. That's it. And, it's like it had to be told to us specifically. And according to the scriptures, according to what is written, it was told to us so that we would truly understand. How would I say this? The law came that sin might be exceedingly sinful. It's the King James Version definition of it. And so sin is the transgression of the law. It's when you break the law. But the law came to point out what sin was. And it made clear what sin was. Now, there's a problem in this. Because even though the law came and said this is sin, by nature people kept sinning anyway. Even if they didn't want to sin, even if they knew that to do unto others as you would have others do unto you, even if they naturally knew that, their conscience would condemn them because they end up doing things that they knew that they shouldn't do. They knew that they shouldn't steal, but they stole anyway. They knew that they shouldn't lie, but they lied anyway. And there's this natural understanding. There's a natural condemnation of the heart, of the conscience. And there's this natural understanding that they are condemned, that they deserve death. This is natural, because you see, give you another example. I know that I don't want nobody to murder me, right? But somebody did me evil, and I'm angry, and I go and I murder them, right? And in my conscience, I realized, wait a second, I did something wrong, and now I condemn myself. That I should be the one to die. Because I did something evil, and I would have punished them to death, and here it is, I did the same thing, therefore I should receive the same punishment as I dish out to them. Hope you kind of get that. It sounds a little bit confusing the way I said it, but it is a little bit a twisting of the words. And it's even worse because if you read about it in Romans, go to the 7th chapter of Romans, and I'm reading out of the today's English version of the Bible. It's easier to read, but I encourage you to read the King James because it's a little bit more precise, I believe. Romans, the 7th chapter. Let's start with the I guess the 5th verse. It says, "For when we lived according to our human nature, the sinful desires stirred up by the law were at work in our bodies, and all we did ended in death." I barely said that. It said, "Now, however, we are free from the law because we died to that which once held us prisoners. No longer do we serve the old way of a written law, but in the new way of the Spirit." Now let's getting into a little bit different subject, because there is a way that delivers a man from this. So he's in a state where the law condemns him, and he knows he's condemned, and he knows he's fixing to be destroyed because he deserves death. And then Paul's sitting here talking about all this. He says, "Shall we say then that the law itself is sinful because it destroys me?" Says, "Of course not, but it was the law that made me know what sin is. If the law had not said, 'Do not desire what belongs to someone else,' thou shalt not covet, I would have not known such a desire. But by means of that commandment, sin found its chance to stir up all kinds of selfish desires in me." It says, "Apart from law, sin is a dead thing. I myself was once alive apart from the law, but when the commandment came, sin sprang to life, and I died. And the commandment, which was meant to bring life, in my case, brought death." See, the commandment came. It was meant to bring life, to show me what right and wrong was, but instead, the commandment or the law destroyed me. How did it destroy me? Because I was doing guilty and I wanted to do evil, and the law came, showed what evil was, but I kept doing it anyway, and I condemned myself. I deserved to be punished. That's kind of what Paul is saying. It says, sin found its chance, and by means of the commandment it deceived me and killed me. So then the law itself is holy. The law is still holy, though. And the commandment is holy, right, and good. But does this mean that what is good caused my death? By no means. It was sin that did it. By using what is good, sin brought death to me in order that its true nature as sin might be revealed. And so, by means of the commandment, sin is shown to be even more terrible, to even more terribly sinful, if I can pronounce it correctly. It says, I'll read that last part again. And so, by means of the commandment, sin is shown to be even more terribly sinful. So sin is made like, it's laying the line. It's kind of like they say, here's the line, and that's what the commandments are, the law. It draws a line in the sand. You cross that line, you're in sin's territory. And that's what the law did. It made sin exceedingly sinful. It pointed it out, saying, this is sin. You do this, you deserve death. And then he talks about this conflict within himself, trying to show the differences between what he wanted to do and what was actually done by his own body. It says, "For we know," this is the 14th verse, again, Romans 7 and 14. It says, "For we know that the law is spiritual, but I am mortal, sold as a slave to sin. I do not understand what I do, for I don't do what I would like to do, but instead I do what I hate. Since what I do is what I don't want to do, this shows that I agree that the law is right. So I am not really the one who does this thing, rather it is the sin that lives in me." So he wanted to do good, but he didn't do what was good. He ended up doing what he hated because of the sin that dwelt in him. So it said it's no longer me, but it's the sin that dwells in me that's doing evil. He wanted to do what's right. He was willing to do the right thing. But the results was that he was doing sin. Now it says, "We know that the law is spiritual, but I am mortal." Let's see. 18th verse. It says, "I know that good does not live in me, that is, in my human nature, for even though the desire to do good is in me, I am not able to do it. I don't do the good I want to do. Instead, I do the evil that I do not want to do. If I do what I don't want to do, this means that I am no longer the one who's doing it. Instead, it is sin that lives in me. So I find that there is a law, that this law is at work. When I want to do good, what is evil is the only choice I have. My inner being delights in the law of God." That means in my heart I delight in God and the laws of God. "But I see a different law at work in my body, a law that fights against the law which my mind approves of. It makes me prisoner to the law of sin, which is at work in my body. says, what an unhappy man I am. How miserable can I be? Who will rescue me from this body that is taking me to death? Then it says, thanks be to God, who does this through our Lord Jesus Christ. This then is my condition. On my own I can serve God's law only without my mind, while my human nature serves the law of sin. So in his mind he can serve the law of God, but in his flesh he's sitting there doing evil. He says, what a miserable person I am. Who's going to deliver me? Now the thing about it is, that's the name of the game. That's where salvation comes in. Because you're living in a condemned state, you're condemning yourself, and the law is even making it worse. And so, how are you going to be delivered? How are you going to be delivered from all this evil? And that's really the first part of this video. I'm going to, I guess, put another part. The next part will go into how do we get out of this state, and what is these works, like I'll continue, what is the works and the faith has to do with this? So that'll be in the next video. So I appreciate you guys for listening, and I hope this makes some sense to you. See you later. Bye.